All right, let's dive right in. We're about to look at this incredible moment from the book of Matthew where Jesus goes head-to-head with the most religious people of his day. They come at him with a challenge about tradition, and what he does next, well, he delivers a warning that is just as sharp and relevant for us today as it was 2,000 years ago.
I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just some ancient history lesson. The whole point here is that we're looking at a critical mistake. A mistake that, according to our source material, is being repeated right now. The stakes are just as high as they've ever been.
Okay, so the scene opens with a showdown. You've got the Pharisees and scribes, we're talking the top religious experts, who have traveled all the way from Jerusalem just to confront Jesus. And what's the big issue? It's about, of all things, unwashed hands.
So there it is, that's their big accusation. And you gotta notice the wording here. This isn't about germs or being hygienic. They're mad because Jesus' followers are breaking the tradition of the elders. This is 100% about man-made religious rules.
Now, you might expect Jesus to get defensive, right? To make excuses for his disciples. Nope. He does the exact opposite. He goes on the attack and completely flips the script, questioning the very foundation of their most cherished traditions.
And this slide right here, this lays out the core of Jesus' argument. On one side, you have their rule, a ritual about washing hands. And on the other side, a direct, explicit commandment from God himself. He's drawing a line in the sand and forcing them to choose what actually matters.
And Jesus doesn't just argue in hypotheticals. He gets really specific. He brings up this, honestly, it's a shocking example of how one of their man-made traditions was being used to flat-out disobey one of God's most important laws.
Okay, so to really get this loophole, we need to understand this term, halachic regulations. Basically, these were extra rules created by religious leaders. Now, the intention was good. They were supposed to help people apply God's law to everyday life. But as we're about to see, even the best intentions can go way, way off the rails.
And here it is. This is the insane loophole. God's law is crystal clear. Honor your parents, which absolutely included taking care of them financially. But this clever tradition they invented gave someone an out. They could say, oh, sorry, Mom and Dad, all that money I'd used to help you, it's korban. It's promised to God. So, my hands are tied. It was a pious-sounding excuse to completely abandon your family.
This is Jesus' final word on the matter. And it is just devastating. Think about it. He's not just saying they bent the rules. He's saying that for the sake of their own man-made tradition, they made God's actual word completely powerless. They nullified it.
But wait, he's not done. Not even close. After exposing their hypocrisy, he pivots. He goes from talking about their external rules to the internal source of every single sin, the human heart. He is about to completely redefine what it means to be unclean.
He kicks it off with this. Now, for a culture that was obsessed with food laws and ritual purity, this statement would have been a bombshell. I mean, if unclean food doesn't defile you, what possibly could?
And there's the punchline. This is the revolutionary idea. Real spiritual dirtiness isn't about what you eat. It's about what starts inside of you, in your heart, and then comes out in your words and your actions. That's what truly defiles you.
He then gives them a list of what actually makes a person unclean. And just look at this list. There is nothing on here about unwashed hands or eating the wrong kind of meat. It's all moral failure. It's all the ugly stuff that starts deep inside the heart. This, he says, is what God is really concerned about.
And just to show how important this teaching is, the source material points out something fascinating. This is the very first of 13 times this specific Greek word for defile shows up in the New Testament. Jesus is laying down a brand new foundational principle here. The heart is the real issue, always.
So that's the story from 2,000 years ago. But the big question is, does this warning still apply? And the source material says, absolutely yes. So let's bring it home and see how these exact same problems can show up in church life today.
First, we got to understand that tradition isn't just about reciting ancient creeds or formal rituals. It can also be the unwritten rules, right? The way we've always done things around here, which is often set not by a rule book, but by the example of the leadership.
So let's look at these two modern examples from the source because they are spot on. First, you have a church where the tradition is that evangelism means inviting your friends to come hear the pastor. Seems good, right? But the problem is, it quietly teaches that only the professional can share the gospel, and it can violate God's command for every believer to go and make disciples. Or how about this one? A church that knows its Bible inside and out, but all its charity and compassion is aimed inward, only at its own members. That knowledge has produced pride, and it violates the most basic command to love your neighbor and care for the people in need right outside your doors.
So what's the big takeaway here? It all comes down to this. A tradition, whether it's ancient or modern, is only as good as the heart behind it. If the motivation is pride, or comfort, or control, it will eventually twist and even cancel out the very commands of God it's supposed to be supporting.
And that really leaves us with a tough question we have to ask ourselves. When we look at the traditions in our own lives and our own communities, are they actually capturing the heart of God, a heart of love and mercy and outreach? Or have we, maybe without even realizing it, for the sake of our own tradition, made the Word of God void? That's something worth thinking about.